This is going to be a wild one today. I have a patient on the way in, and things are busy kind of here at the gym. But you know, I had a psycho person following me here on YouTube. They've been harassing me for a couple of days, and the guy said something about, did I think that, you know, the Zodiac killer killed JFK and Jimmy Hoffa? You know, he's just looking for ways to call me names, but, you know, I blocked the guy. But then I started thinking, Frank once did say something to me about Jimmy Hoffa. So I went and I looked him up. Now, I'm not saying that Frank and these guys killed him. Just hear me out. Jimmy Hoffa was a, I don't know, Teamster president back in the 70s, and he was supposed to meet with some guys from the mafia. This you know, this guy was in the news every day. Jimmy Hoffa and the mafia leaders and JFK and I don't know, this and that, and he'd been in prison and all these other things. And on a certain date, I don't remember when it was, he was supposed to meet with some of these guys. They were going to have a party or something, I don't know, play cards, I don't know. I have to look it up again for you. But they didn't show up. The mafia guys didn't show up. My understanding is mafia guys. I have to read it again. But he was outside of this house wherever they were supposed to meet him, and he called him on a payphone, and he couldn't get a hold of him, and he was trying to figure out what happened, you know. And all of a sudden, 3 guys drove up in a Brougham, or whatever you want to call it. I think it was pretty new. You can look at all this in Wikipedia on Jimmy Hoffa and get all the details. 3 guys in a new car lured him into the car and took off, and that was the end of Jimmy Hoffa. He was never heard from again. Some people from the mafia took credit for it, but why would you take credit for something, for a murder, unless you really didn't do it? Because they know that the police can't, the FBI can't convict them just because they said they do it. They have to have some proof. They would still have to go to court and prove that this guy killed somebody. But anyway, just interestingly enough, because I wasn't very interested in Jimmy Hoffa or the mafia or anything when I was back in those years, you know. But Frank told me one time, you ever hear of Jimmy Hoffa? And I go, yeah. And he goes, well, what do you know about him? You know, I told him Teamsters and everything. He goes, yeah, well, he was in the news all the time. And I go, yeah, I know. And one day Frank goes, and then one day he disappeared. And I go, yeah. He said, do you know how he disappeared? I go, no. And he said, well, he ended up getting a car with 3 guys. And he looked at the Anglin brothers and said, and that was the end of him. And they never found him. And I think what he might have been trying to tell me, either he's trying to take credit for it because of his ego, or they actually did it. Maybe, you know, Jimmy Hoffa was in the paper and on the news so much that Frank probably knew where he was going to be all the time. You know, it wouldn't take much investigating to find out. He wasn't like protected by the CIA or anything like that. And they may have pulled up to this phone where he was standing out there and decided to take him, because they like to take, you know, figures, people who were well known in the news. It made Frank really proud. They never found the body, and that's what Frank kind of put the emphasis on, that they never found him. And Frank had told me before that they were experts at making people disappear, and he went like this, without a trace. And that's what, you know, I mean, maybe these guys just, you know, knew that the mafia wanted to take the guy, and they did it for them so that they could get the credit in their own minds, you know. And also, it's kind of interesting that he said this to me, and that things fit together. If you take out the high-profile Jimmy Hoffa being a high-profile person and being in the news and everything, it's a perfect Zodiac killer movie. Three guys, Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, drive up in a stolen car, catch this guy on the side of the street, get him in the car, take him somewhere, kill him, torture him, kill him, and bury him. And he's never heard from again. Nobody's ever found any of these guys, people they've killed, their victims. And I even know where some of them are buried, and I can't get anybody to help me with it. But one day, I might, when ground detecting radar becomes cheap enough for me to buy one, I may go to some of these grave sites and prove some things to people, including Donna Lass's grave, which I think Frank Morris is buried there. Just another little story, but you know, that came off of this Jimmy Hoffa thing, because you know, there was a certain feel to what was going on with Jimmy Hoffa and the Mafia, and it just didn't seem like it was time for him to disappear. It was out of the ordinary, but yet fit in to what the Mafia was doing, but it just didn't seem like it should have happened then. And maybe these guys did this, I don't know. It just really would fit. Have a nice day, folks.